good, we're good, we're good. Okay. We as a society need to move past putting shirtless men on books. Done, literally like the worst book ever. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel and welcome to my birthday book haul. So this is coming a little bit late. My birthday was at the beginning of February. Some of these I did get for my birthday, some of these I got for myself for my birthday, and others I've just sort of accumulated. Look, no apologies here. I'm just saying book buying and book reading are two different hobbies and I am a very big fan of both, so please do not judge me. So I just want to get right into it. I have about 30 or 40 books here to talk about. So without further ado, let's get to the book haul. So I think I'm going to organize this book haul by genre. So let's start with classics. I only have 3 classics and the first 2 are actually the same book. So I recently got 2 more copies of The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. If you don't know, I read The Great Gatsby in January and it was so good. I cannot believe it took me so long to read The Great Gatsby. It is a book that's obviously been on my radar since like high school when I'm pretty sure we had to read it and I didn't. But I'm so happy that I picked it up in January because it was amazing. And I really like to get multiple copies of my favorite books, and I feel like classics come in so many cool editions. So I got this Penguin Classics edition. It is white and gold and so pretty. And then I kind of got this like Art Deco 20s edition of The Great Gatsby, and it does have some really beautiful artwork in it, which is how I am justifying the purchase. But I do plan to reread The Great Gatsby, so I think I will probably want to annotate it on a reread, and I'll do that with one of these. I also, within the last month or so, purchased The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is the Penguin clothbound edition. This is literally one of my favorite books of all time, like even more so than The Great Gatsby. This book is absolutely incredible. It is the book that inspired me to finally annotate. I've wanted to annotate books for a while, but I just never really felt like called to. This book pulled me in and I needed to annotate all of the amazing quotes in this book. I love it so much and I think this edition is really beautiful. Okay, so now we are going to move on to middle grade. I only have 2 books in the middle grade section of this haul, and they are for the same series, and that is Wondersmith, which is the 2nd book in the Morgan Crow series, and then Hollowpox, which is the 3rd book in the Morgan Crow series by Jessica Townsend. I'm actually reading Wondersmith right now. It is so good, you guys. Oh my god. I don't really know what the 3rd book is about. I haven't looked because I don't want to be spoiled for the 2nd book in the series as I'm reading it. But if you don't know what the series is about in general, it follows a girl who is destined and cursed to die on her 11th birthday, but then a man named Jupiter North comes and rescues her and takes her to this magical land called Nevermore, where she competes for a spot in a magical, wondrous society. And it kind of goes from there. It's so much bigger and more vast than that, but I'm having a really great time with it. I loved the 1st book, but this one is even better. We're getting so much more in depth with the magic system and the world, and I just like can't say this enough. I know this is like a very popular middle grade series, but seriously, if you have like any interest in getting into middle grade, please read this book. It reads so easily. It's like a 500-page book, and I read half of it in like an hour and a half-ish, which is pretty fast just because it is so like easily digestible, and it's really fun and really funny, and it feels like you're just giving your brain like a break, honestly. And I just love the series so much. So I'm probably going to finish this week and then jump right into Hollowpox because the series is absolutely incredible. Okay, so next I'm going to move on to mysteries and thrillers, and the next book that I have is Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead by Elle Cosimano. This is the 2nd book in the Finlay Donovan series. The 1st book is Finlay Donovan is Killing It. I'm sure you've heard about it, but if you don't know what it is about, Finlay Donovan is an author who is kind of struggling down on her luck a bit. She meets up with her literary agent at a Panera Bread, and she's describing the synopsis for her next book, which is kind of like this murder thriller romance. Someone overhears her, thinks that she is actually like a hit woman, and hires Finlay to kill her husband. It goes from there. It's really crazy. There's great humor in this book. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's also some like very serious stuff. So this book really has it all. I'm very excited to get to the 2nd one. The 1st one was amazing, 5 stars, and I can't wait to see what happens next. The next book that I recently got is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. This is a thriller. Lucy Foley also wrote The Guest List and The Hunting Party, if you've heard of those books. I actually recently just read this and I gave it 2 stars. So this is not a book that I love, to be honest with you. I'm probably gonna end up unhauling it just because it was a very major disappointment, but I don't really want to go into it. I still think if you liked The Guest List or The Hunting Party, you should read this. I just think Lucy Foley isn't for me. I think the cover is really beautiful, and I think the premise of this book is very interesting. The execution was just not my cup of tea. Okay, the next thriller series that I have is a YA thriller series that is super popular on like Instagram and Book Talk right now, and that is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. So if you watched my recent romance reading vlog, I did like a mini haul in that vlog, and I got a different edition of this book. However, literally like the next day, I found all three books, which is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, As Good as Dead, and then Good Girl Bad Blood. I saw all three in paperback for like very cheap, so I'm actually going to return the other edition that I got just because I think these might even be the UK editions as well. If you don't know what the series is about, it follows a girl murdered at her high school, and everyone assumes that the boyfriend did it. I believe he is convicted and like case closed, but she does not believe that he is guilty, so she ends up investigating and looking into it. I've heard this is like really intense and exciting and fun, and I'm really excited to read it. Okay, so let's move on to fantasy. This is like kind of fantasy, kind of sci-fi, kind of dark academia, thrillerish, I don't really know, but that is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. Now, I do have the original paperback version, which is like probably the one that most people know of, but The Atlas 6 did get picked up by a like traditional publisher, I believe Tor Books, and they like reprinted the book and came out with this really beautiful edition. They also edited the book and added in some more things to the story. So what I've heard is when the sequel comes out this fall, which I'm very excited for, the sequel kind of makes more sense if you've read this edition. I'm not entirely sure, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. So I guess I'm going to be rereading The Atlas 6 this year because I don't want to be like confused about anything. And the book is like kind of confusing enough. I really like it, but there were some things that I was just like what's going on? If you say so, okay. I am going to reread this, but this book is really beautiful and it has updated art. If you've read the first one, there's art in that book as well. Okay, the next book is very popular on BookTube right now, and that is Jade City by Fonda Lee. I think this is adult fantasy, and it's set in a world where Jade is like where people get their power. It's the magic source, and I think that there's like mafia vibes to this book. So I don't know. That's all I've heard, but everyone is loving it. I believe it's a trilogy, but I really do want to get to this one very soon just because I've seen so many glowing reviews of it on BookTube. The next book is by Tahereh Mafi, which is This Woven Kingdom. This was one of my most highly anticipated releases of 2022. This is said to be if Game of Thrones was set in the Persian Empire, which I think sounds so cool and so interesting and beautiful. I'm really excited to get to this. It's like a YA fantasy. I think there's a little bit of like an enemies to lovers trope as well. I haven't heard anyone talk about this book yet, so I really need to get to it to figure out my thoughts, but the cover is just so gorgeous, and I'm excited to read from this author. Tahereh Mafi wrote the Shatter Me series, which is very, very popular. I don't think I'm gonna read that series, but I just know that this author has a lot of praise, so I'm excited to see what their writing is like. Okay, the next book I'm so excited about. This is Midnight in Everwood by M.A. Kuzniar. So this is actually a Nutcracker retelling. Fun fact about me, I did ballet for like my entire life, for like 15 years. I did every type of dance you could possibly do, but ballet was like my main love, my main passion, my main everything. I have been in so many productions of the Nutcracker. Oh my gosh, I have played almost every part. I have danced to almost every piece of music. Like, I have spent so many hours of my life listening to that music, dancing to that music, performing the Nutcracker. So when I heard that there was like a Nutcracker retelling in the YA fantasy genre, I thought it would be interesting to pick up. I haven't looked into it at all. I don't know how much of a retelling it is, or if it's literally just like the Nutcracker set in a different world. I don't really know, but I think I'm going to read this in December, and I hope it does not disappoint. Okay, so the next book in my haul is a recent release, and that is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. It does have the bonus content for Bryce and Hunt. I loved this book. As you can see, after reading Picture Dorian Gray, started annotating this one, and it was such a fun experience. If you want to see my thoughts on this, I do have a reading vlog, spoiler-free, and has some spoilers in it, and you can hear all my thoughts. And then I also got the tour edition of House of Sky and Breath. I have never had a tour edition of a book, and I thought it seemed fun. So it's just a naked book. It doesn't have a dust jacket. This is what the front looks like, and then the side, and then the back says light it up. And then there is a cute little ribbon bookmark that my cat decided to light, which love that for her. And I just love having multiple editions of my favorite books once again, so I'm glad that I got this one. Okay, and then the next set of bookish things that I have to show you guys are new dust jackets for the ACOTAR series. I was not necessarily looking for new dust jackets. I don't mind the newer versions of the ACOTAR dust jackets. They're a little boring, but like they're fine. Then, oh my god, I was on Instagram and came across these amazing, beautiful dust jackets. So the company that makes them is And then the artist is Dominique Wesson. I will have both of their Instagrams linked down below. You guys should absolutely go check them out. They have amazing dust jackets and prints and posters and just like everything. Dominique is like the best artist for fan art I've ever seen. They are amazing, and I saw these dust jackets and I just like couldn't not get them. I thought that they were so beautiful. So we have Court of Thorns and Roses, which has Feyre on the front and it has like iridescent writing, and then it has the wolf on the back. Oh, I just realized this is probably Tamlin in his beast form because he has like antlers or something. Oh my god. Okay, I literally thought that this was the wolf that Feyre kills in the beginning of ACOTAR. Spoiler, it literally happens in the first chapter. But no, this is probably Tamlin. Okay, so this is Tamlin because he has like horns, and that's not like a regular wolf thing. And I think that the wolf that Feyre kills in the beginning of ACOTAR is just a regular wolf. Okay, interesting. Super beautiful addition here. And then we have A Court of Mist and Fury with Feyre and Rhysand on the front. And then it looks like that on the side, and then we have Valaris in the back, and then A Court of Wings and Ruin, which has all of the Archeron sisters on the front, and then the back you guys are not ready for. It has all three Bat Boys. This is my favorite art of Azriel and Cassian. This is exactly how I picture them in my head, and they're just gorgeous. They're amazing. And then we have the Hallmark Christmas special that is A Court of Frost and Starlight, Feyre and Rhysand on the front, and then I don't know if this beast thing is supposed to be Tamlin on the back, but we have a little beastie guy on the back as well. And then my personal favorite, unpopular opinion, I think A Court of Silver Flames is the best ACOTAR book. And we have Nesta and Cassian on the front. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Not even fan art, just like anything I've ever seen. This is the best. This is so beautiful. And then we have the mountain on the backs. I absolutely love these dust jackets. They have just like elevated the ACOTAR series for me so much. And now I really want to reread the ACOTAR series. One, because I read House of Sky and Breath, and like, if you know, you know. It definitely makes you want to reread Sarah J Maas's series, particularly ACOTAR. But now I have these new dust jackets. I'm like, that sounds like a great idea. So I may be rereading ACOTAR next month, just letting y'all know, and I'm excited about it. Okay, so now I have some more new dust jackets to show you guys that I'm so excited about. So I have all of the Throne of Glass books in paperback, but I really like to have my fantasy books in hardcover. I don't know why, but like fantasy needs to be in hardcover. Romance needs to be in paperback. That is just how my brain works. And so I have been searching high and low for hardcover editions of the Throne of Glass books because they are really hard to find. You can't really find a set anywhere, at least not in my experience. So I did buy all of the Throne of Glass books secondhand, and a lot of the dust jackets were pretty damaged. Also, I feel like the dust jackets for Throne of Glass, just like the cover art, is pretty terrible in my opinion. I don't know, I think it's definitely her worst like artwork for her books. So I decided to get the Nerdy Ink dust jackets, which are very popular here on BookTube and Bookstagram. I see them all over the place. So I wanted to get them because I think that they're really beautiful and they really pop on people's bookshelves. So we have the Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn, literally like the worst book ever. And then Kingdom of Ash, which has the beautiful Irene on it, and this is like the most painful book I've ever read. Okay, so it would not be a book haul on my channel if we did not have a vast romance section, so let's get into it. The first romance books that I got, it's another series, and this is a historical romance series by Lisa Kleypas. It is the Wallflower series. So we have Secrets of a Summer Night, It Happened One Autumn, Devil in Winter, and then Scandal in Spring. I actually read Secrets of a Summer Night up until the 50% point in January. I was reading it on my Kindle through Libby, and one day I just like forgot to read it, and then I never like remembered to pick it up again. And then I got a notification from Libby that like, hey, your loan is up. So I returned the book and I just like didn't finish it. I don't know, I've never done that before, but I just kind of forgot about this. That's not to say that it wasn't good. I was really enjoying it, but I think I just had like other things going on. So this book unfortunately fell to the wayside. I decided that I just wanted to buy the physical copy of the books, one, so I can remember like to read these because I really do want to get to these. And these are very inexpensive. That is what I love about these like 2005 grocery store core like historical romance books, is that they are very inexpensive, and they're just like so tiny. Like it kind of drives me nuts how tiny they are. Like I don't know where I'm gonna put them on my shelves, but they're very inexpensive, so I bought the whole series to kind of make myself read them. But I have heard nothing but incredible things about Lisa Kleypas and about the Wallflower series. If you don't know what the series is about, I believe it takes place during like Regency London times, and during the season when everyone is kind of getting like paired up and looking for husbands, these four women tend to be wallflowers at these balls. They just kind of sit to the side and don't really dance, don't really talk to anyone, and they make a pact that they are going to help each other find husbands throughout the season. So each book follows a different character, and I'm really excited to read this. Okay, the next book is Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellafleur. I am so excited to read this book. This is a sapphic romance. It is set in Seattle, and one of the main characters is like an astrologer, so there's a lot of like astrology, zodiac things, which I'm excited for. I've never read about that in a book, so I'm excited to see how it's portrayed in this book. But I believe this is like a fake dating situation, which fake dating is always such a good time. So I'm excited to get to this one. And I think there's already a sequel or a companion book out for this as well. So I really hope that I like it, and I'll just continue on with the series. The next book is Throttled by Lauren Asher. This is the first book in the Dirty Air series, which is an F1 sports romance. I read this on Kindle Unlimited, and all of the books in the series are on Kindle Unlimited, but I just really loved this book and I wanted to buy a physical copy. My plan was to buy all of the books in the series for physical copies so I could have like the full series on my shelves. But then I read the second book, Collided, and I gave it 2 stars, and like I don't want to buy that book. So I don't really know what I'm gonna do, but I think that this book is really pretty. I like the binding here. I really loved this couple, Noah and Maya. So this one might just be hanging out by itself without the rest of the series, but I absolutely recommend reading this book on Kindle Unlimited. It was really, really fun. The next book I have is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm pretty sure Taylor Jenkins Reid is my favorite author just because of the grip that Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones have on me. So I've definitely wanted to get into her backlist, and this is a very popular book. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about it, particularly right now. I actually think this might be being turned into a movie. Don't quote me. The premise of this book sounds so interesting. So we follow our main character, Emma. Emma married her high school sweetheart. Her life is perfect. Her life is great. And then one day her husband goes missing and is presumed dead. And so like, huge tragedy. The course of her life changes forever. Years go by and she ends up meeting someone new and getting engaged. Like she's picked up the pieces of her life and she's really happy in her new life. Then her presumed dead husband shows up and is like, hey, oh my God, I've been missing this whole time, but I'm back. And so now Emma has to decide, does she get back with her husband or does she stay with her fiance because she loves them both? And I just think this is going to be a really interesting book. I think it's such a brilliant concept. I feel like it's going to be super emotional, and I'm very curious to see like who she ends up with and why she ends up with them and what happens to the other guy. And yeah, I think this is going to be great. The next romance that I picked up recently is The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. So this sounds super interesting. We have our main character's name is Catalina. She is a wedding planner, and she is ironically left at the altar by her fiance, and she finds out that her fiance's brother, so her future brother-in-law, had a hand in like breaking up the wedding. So she hates him, is really upset. Not a good time for her. Years later, she is working on a wedding, and her ex almost brother-in-law is also working on the wedding. So they have to come together like professionally and work together, but she obviously like hates him because he kind of ruined her life. And I think it's kind of like an enemies to lovers situation. I think this sounds so interesting. It sounds like we're going to have forced proximity, which is like such an amazing trope in romance, and I just think this is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, the next book that I have is Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson. This is also a romance, but I think it's kind of like a more tragic, sad, pull at your heartstrings romance. We have our 2 characters. One is a dancer, one is a photographer. They're living in London, and I just think that their love story is not easy, and I don't know if we're getting a happy ending, but I do love, as much as I love like a fluffy rom-com or just like a smutty romance, I also love a good like pull at your heartstrings, make you think, make you emotional type of book. I'm very excited to read this. This is actually on my March TBR, so if you want to see my thoughts on it, make sure that you watch my March wrap-up at the end of the month. All right, the next book that I picked up is Colty by Mariana Zapata. So this is a romance about a college soccer player and her coach. So when she was a kid, her coach was actually like this really big famous soccer star, and she idolized him. And then she grows up, I believe she's 27 in this book, and he retires and becomes her college soccer coach. And she realizes that he's like not this amazing guy that she thought that he was, and she's kind of like heartbroken that her like teen heartthrob was not who he seemed to be. But then they end up falling for each other. See, I bought this book before I read The Wall of Winnipeg and Me and From Luke Off with Love, which are the 2 Mariana Zapata books that I read recently. And I know that Mariana Zapata is like such a loved author on here, and so I'm like treading carefully with this statement, but I just don't love Mariana Zapata's writing. I can't quite articulate what it is that I do not like about it, but I just don't connect with her books really at all. So I don't know when I'm going to pick this one up. If you absolutely loved this book, I would love to hear that, just because I've been pretty disappointed with Mariana Zapata books so far, and I do think this is a very interesting and fun premise, but I'm just not sure sure how soon I want to get to it. And then another Mariana Zapata book that I bought quite a while ago is All Roads Lead Here. This is her most recent release. I don't know too much about it. I think we follow a girl who's like, maybe she's recently divorced or gone through a tragedy. She moves to a small town to like get away from it all, and I think she ends up falling for her landlord. That all sounds wonderful. I love Mariana Zapata's slow burn formula, but once again, it's just like her writing style is just not my thing, so I'm not super drawn to picking this book up. I would say between this one and Culty, I would probably pick up this one first because it is her most recent release. I think it came out in 2021, I want to say. And so I feel like the more recent a release, maybe some of the writing kinks that I don't love that she has may have been ironed out. I don't know. She's not a bad author. It's just for some reason I don't vibe with whatever her writing style is. Okay, and the next two books are part of a romance series that I'm going to be reading this month, and the first one is Kiss the Sky, and the second one is Hot House Flower. So these are the first two books in the Calloway Sisters series, and the Addicted Calloway Sisters series is like this big combined like universe of series, and I read the first three books in the Addicted series over the last few months, and then it's suggested by the authors to read these two next. I just have to say, I hate this cover so much. Like oh my god, it drives me insane. Like, why do we do this? I don't like it. It doesn't look good. It's embarrassing. Like, I'm sorry. But anyway, Kiss the Sky is Rose Calloway and Connor Cobalt's book, and then Hot House Flower is Daisy and Reich's book. I'm excited for both of these. I think I am going to vlog my reading experience with these, so if you would be interested in my thoughts, make sure to keep an eye out for that. Okay, and the last book is The Roommate by Rosie Dannon. I don't feel like this book is talked about too much online. I don't know if it's like an older release, but I think the premise sounds super interesting. So our main character, she's kind of uptight, and she moves from East Coast to the West Coast, and she thinks that she's going to be living with someone, like a friend, but then when she gets there, she realizes she's not going to be living with that person, and there's just like this random guy there instead, which, like, red flag. She moves in with him anyway, and I'm like, I would never do that, but like, do you, girl? She finds out that her new roommate is actually a porn star, and so this kind of makes her like clutch her pearls. She is very shocked by this, but I think that they end up getting together, and I think this will be a really interesting book. I'm excited to see like a character kind of break down the walls of a more uptight character. I think it'll be very funny and interesting and steamy, and I'm just really excited. Okay, so those are all of the books, a part of my birthday book haul. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave the stack of book emojis. If you did enjoy this video, please like, please subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.